this morning to do justice to that very important topic. We have first Hamzat Lawal. Hamzat Lawal. Or first of all, let's introduce the lady. Yes, let's go to Cynthia Mbamalo. Cynthia Mbamalo is a regular discussant in this program, and she's the director of program Yaga Africa. It's a pleasure.
Good morning. Good morning.
All right, and Hamzat Lawal, the executive connected development, is going to explain that in the course of this program. Executive connected development. Hamzat Lawal, it's a pleasure also to have you here.
Thank you. Good morning, Nigerians.
All right.
And of course, I also have a regular here, Honorable Ahmed Sajo, former Commissioner for Information and Strategy at Adamawa State. We thank you for joining us this morning.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And we also have via Zoom from Wari, Timothy Avele, Managing Director, Chief Executive Officer of Agent X Security Limited, and Deputy Director General, School X, Cybertech and AI Academy, that is Artificial Intelligence Academy. You're welcome to Good Morning, Nigeria.
Good morning, Nigeria. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for honoring our invitation. It's a very youthful setting this morning. In the that we have Commissioner Sajo here with us. Now, let's begin by
he earlier said he's coming in to join his younger ones to talk about this.
Exactly. All right.
But they need to know where we're coming from.
Exactly.
They know where we ought to be.
And then we're going to begin with the younger persons here with us this morning. Let's do an evaluation and a kind of assessment, of Nigeria's demographic assets, and we are focusing attention on the younger generation of Nigeria, which of course we are told, make up about 70% of the entire population, which means that it's a concentration, of a demographic that could be deployed positively and in some cases negatively as well. So let's make an assessment. What do you think of this demographic carving of the younger generation of Nigeria? Let me begin with Cynthia.
Good morning, Nigeria. 62 years after, and we're talking around how do we just basically demographic dividends. And I think for one, Nigeria is a blessed country. This is a rich country, beyond just blessed with natural resources, it's human resources. And our youthful population is an indication of that huge blessing that we have. And because while other countries, the reason why you have countries with immigration policies now attracting people is because some countries are struggling, when it comes to harnessing the demographic dividend within their own climate. But we are blessed with the numbers. We're blessed with the youthful energy, and we hear people say Nigeria is a young country because of that youth population. But I think while we're hugely blessed and we have this great asset within our own territory, there's still a lot of opportunities that we are not utilizing properly, and which is what I'm hoping this conversation today will help us understand and possibly bring better light on how to better harness the civic energies within this youth population. So what do we have beyond just the huge youth population? We have an innovative youthful population. So if you think around the great things that have come out from Nigeria, is it entertainment, is it technology, is it even sports? You cannot talk around all the successes achieved in these major spaces without talking about the youth. But yet, this is still a country that is yet to harness the energies within this population. Why do I say so? Recently, there's this new trend of Japan. If you go on social media now, almost every young person you're talking with has an interest of leaving the country. And most of them you talk about, they'll tell you they're looking for where they can better utilize their potentials, because they do not think the system they live in would help their dreams come to life. So you see that we have this huge youth population, but within this huge youth population, there's a lot of brain drain, a lot of people losing hope, and that is a problem. And why do we think people are losing a lot of hope? Is because over a long period of time, there's almost that the consistent failure of leadership to truly understand the dividends, to truly understand that they have a huge resource within them that can be utilized. And if we cannot resolve or solve the leadership question, we will continually face these challenges that we are facing, where a lot of young Nigerians believe that they have so much to give, but they also feel that the system is not creating that enabling environment for them to give in that much that they can give. But within that, we still have hope. Why? I was in Sokoto some weeks ago and then in Lagos, and I met with young people from different communities, from the 20 LGAs and in Lagos, even in Sokoto, across different local governments. And while we had a lot of young people feeling like, one, a lot of them were students, they've been out of school for months, and they were frustrated, like they felt that they've lost a major part of their lives just waiting to get an education. But I still saw hope there, because among these young persons were people who still believe that Nigeria could work. A lot of them were talking around, how can we get the system to work, that they can no longer live in this system where things are not working, and they want a Nigeria that they could be proud of. So you see that while you have people giving up, we still have a percentage who still believe. And if we cannot solve the leadership question to address the hope of this percentage who still believe, we're going to lose it. Now the thing is, if we do not harness the resources within this youth population, it becomes a threat to national development. And that is why what we're beginning to see, the growing insecurity, why it is easy for people to take up arms against the state, is because when the state is failing to meet their needs, they no longer feel allegiance to the state. So it's easier for anyone to give them arms, and they will take it up, because to them, the state has failed me in different respects. So if you think around it, we have a huge resource within us, but we are failing to meet the needs of this huge resource. We are failing to turn them into reasonable assets for national development, and it is a question of leadership, because consistently leadership has failed to get us to where we need to get to.
We would really interrogate that further as we move into the program, and then see why all this negative thinking about Nigeria, especially from the youth. Hamzat Lawal, Chief Executive, Connected Development. We're still making some assessments this morning. We'll see how far we've gone. 62 years. Have we been able to maximize our democratic, demographic advantage? Are we really measuring up to what we are supposed to measure up as far as we are concerned? People of 15 million people, a nation of 15 million people, I would say, at independence or thereabout. And now over 200 million. And here we are still talking about how do we move forward.
I think that, and it's really exciting we're having this conversation, I think we got it wrong at some point. I'm not sure which generation got it wrong, but I think also there's no room to blame anybody. But we can learn from where that gap emanated from. All my life, I experienced public education from primary, secondary, and to university, all public. But then when I look at the education system and the sector now, I ask myself, would I want to send my kids to the primary school and secondary school or university that I attended? And the honest truth is no. Why? Because of the failure of deliberate investment. See, for every nation that have succeeded over time, it's because of deliberate effort to put the needed resources in the education sector. Any nation that would get it right is for that nation to invest in who or what becomes after them. So today, there is no security. And when I talk about security, I'm not even talking about, the fact that we're dealing with insecurity. First, human security. Why would people lose faith and hope? It's because, one, you cannot even guarantee shelter. You cannot guarantee that they would go to bed without hunger, or they would wake up and see food. You cannot guarantee health care. You cannot even guarantee the sovereignty of your state. So when we talk about patriotism, it should be a two-way thing. Yes, we are all loyal to the state, not to who is in government, but the state, because without Nigeria, you and I will not be. And I say that, first, yes, let's learn from where we're coming from, but we must change trajectory, because what we're aiming at, or what we're tilting at, is a ticking time bomb. So 200 million population, and over 150 million are young and vibrant, and they're not adequately engaged, equipped with knowledge and resources to strive and contribute to the state and the development of the state. And for me, I think we need to have a collective vision. Because if we have a collective vision and our leaders can sell hope, because the only thing that keeps humanity going is hope. If people lose hope, then they would, of course, look for what is possible, even if it's taking arms against the state. But we need to look at ourselves and say, what is our collective vision? What can we identify that each and every one of us, irrespective of our belief and differences, we can connect to? And if we can do that, probably we can come together and work together, because it's not only for government to get it, it is for each and every one of us. Even if you're civil society, your media, your private sector, your elder statesman, each and every one of us have a role to play. Both the woman selling at the roadside, and the man with suit and tie in an office space. If we play our role decisively, then that action would connect, and then Nigeria can continue to blossom. When we travel across the world, people don't care what religion or what faith or what region we come from. First, they say, you're from Nigerian. And whatever becomes, or whatever news that they hear from Nigeria, they take that perception on you. They don't understand, yes, the local context. So to them, it is about Nigeria. Whatever you do, or whatever impression you make, it is also reflecting on your country. So for me, it always should be Nigeria first, but each and every one of us must agree that we should connect to a vision that encompasses justice, fairness, and equity, where there is intergenerational solidarity.
Oh, okay, I like that, intergenerational solidarity. I like to recall what Dr. Nambaziki, the first president of Nigeria, said in 1982, that the problem of Nigeria is powerlessness and poor execution of policies and what have you. And he said this in 1982. We are talking about 2022, and we're still struggling with deliberate policies, implementable policies that can establish a master plan that will impact on the younger generation of Nigerians. We've had Ministry of Youth Development over the years. But when we ask, what has come out of this ministry in terms of developing some templates that could lead into proper engagement of the youth, which of course these youths are talking about are different categories of youth in the first place. There are educated ones, there are not educated ones, there are all those who are also in different trades, artisanal trades and what have you. Okay, let's bring in Timothy Avele here, MD, CEO, Agent X Security. I think you're also a younger person. I don't know your age, but I believe you are within the bracket that we're talking about. And already a CEO. I would like you to also give us your own assessment, of what has happened to this demography we're discussing, and how administrations after one another could not do something tangible to ensure that this group of Nigerians are gainfully engaged. Your thoughts?
Thank you very much. As the Speaker of Nations, other speakers, the greatest resources that we have in Nigeria is not oil, gas, as many we assume, but is youth. It's not me that Nigeria youth does not excel in the world. We talk of private security, we talk about agriculture, we talk about science, in all fields. All Nigeria youth need is just an opportunity, an enabling environment. If you recall some time ago, not quite long, the government reduces the fee to establish a business name to just 5,000. I can remember a lot of youths, they use the opportunity to have their businesses. And like today, one thing that the government have done very well is that someone can register a company, a business name just 48 hours, and the company in just maybe 1 week. So that is a good policy that can enable and engage the youth. So, but there's not enough policy, let me say, and enabling environment to really propel this youth to do more. And like some of the speakers have mentioned, this energy now is now being used for bad activities like Yahoo, insurgency, kidnapping, and all that. So if those in charge can channel these resources deliberate into something useful, in the next 2 years you can see that Nigeria will start reaping greatly, even more than the oil and gas that we are depending on today.
Okay, thank you so much, Timothy Avele. I hope I pronounced the name, properly, but if I'm not, waiting for our corrections anyway. I misheard you. Let's hear from you. The other three, young people. Sure, yes. At least from the beginning, you said you are coming in to join.
You know what my grandson told me. What did he say? Small boy, I just asked him. I said, he said, what are you to me? I said, I'm your grandfather. He said, you can't be grandfather. Where is your white beard? Where is your walking stick? so he thinks that the grandfather must have white beard and laughed. But that is not perception. Let's look at it this way. My son here mentioned having a shared vision. You cannot have a shared vision if you don't have shared values. What are the values we share in this country? The concepts he's talking about, the fairness, justice, equity, do we share them? Does justice and fairness mean the same thing to me and you? Do we share values of that nature? Let's be very, honest with ourselves. We indicted ourselves even in our constitution. You said the cabinet must have one person from every state, meaning if you don't have somebody from your state in the cabinet, you will not be protected. So even the concept of nationhood, we've killed it ourselves by our own admission that people cannot rise above provincialism, looking at themselves from a particular place. Now this is one aspect of it. In all honesty, if there is anything that is very positive about this country, it's the exports of our young people. Go to anywhere in this world. If you sit down in a pub or a bar and they are playing music, they cannot play 5 without playing a Nigerian music, whether they understand our language or not. Recently there was a medical conference in London, and one of the songs they put was Buga, and white men stood up and were doing this. So the young people have been a very positive influence on our country's image abroad. So we are not. But what have we done? Let's be honest with ourselves. He's talking about not blaming anybody. I'm telling you that my generation have failed this country, and I'm very, very honest with it. We have a population that is growing from 50 million to 200 million or above. But we have our industries dying. We have our infrastructure dying. We have countries that we started with had their railways. We had to kill our railway midway. Countries we started with, let me tell you, Cameroon here, Issa Hayatou had an accident as an athlete. He could not go back to athletics. So what did he do? They wanted him to learn football administration. Where did they take him to come and learn that football administration? To Nigeria. And he rose to become acting FIFA president. When Saudi Arabia wanted to establish Saudi Air, they came to Nigeria to learn how to run an airline. Where is our airline? Dead. So what we are saying is that, look, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of industry, in terms of an enabling environment for growth and mentorship, we are receding. I think our population is increasing. How do you instill hope in younger people who do not see industry where they can exploit their talents? We took a young man, Jelani, from General Motors. He was doing well. He excelled. He made name the world over. We brought him to Nigeria. Tell me what name has he made for us in Nigeria? because the environment for him to maximize his capacity does not exist. So where we are getting it wrong is that the growth of our youthful population is not consistent with the growth of our development infrastructure, whether it is in education, whether it is in health, whether it is in industrial development, we are not growing that. When I was growing up, if you go to Kaduna, the textile industry alone was far higher as an influencer of livelihoods in Kaduna than the government. Today, that textile industry is dead. That textile industry is what gave us Adams Oshimole. So, but today, will that textile industry give us another Adams Oshimole? No, it has not given us till today, because it has collapsed. So if we want to maximize our youthful demography, she made mention of the fact that we need to address the question of leadership. A leadership that understands that first they need to build a shared value amongst Nigerians. Then from that shared values, we now develop a shared vision. And from that shared vision, we now design a roadmap for returning the growth in our core sectors back to life. Then it can absorb the young people, create opportunities for young people to express themselves. I tell you that there are eyes on us. This is an IT age. Now the whole world is looking up to Nigeria. Why? Because we have developed young people with extreme knowledge of IT, that they could do so many things with this IT thing. But as soon as they are discovered, I understand that there was a young man who could sit down in his sitting room and manipulate the banking sector using his computer, his laptop. I also understand that the world powers have already taken him away from here. Because for us, we see him as a criminal. For them, they see him as a talented person whose talent could be, directed to either good or bad. But because we do not direct our own to good, they have the option of going bad. So young people in this country are our hope. Exactly. But for the hope to materialize, we who are in the political space, who control the policies, must create the enabling environment, and we must return our infrastructure, we must return our industry, we must return our education, we must return to a level where it can be useful.
Yeah, I just had to, mention, blueprint or roadmap and what have you. We've had a litany of roadmaps in this country.
They are not based on shared vision
in all sectors. So we have very good thinkers, and the people who are gifted in terms of writing. Conceptualizing. Something that is possible, that's achievable. But the problem is that we don't leverage on that. That's the problem that we have. Not in terms of developing a good document. For instance, during the Obasanjo administration, UNESCO came up with a roadmap for Africa to development scientifically. It's a package by UNESCO. Now, what happened? And they meant it for Africa. Now, Nigeria organized it in the first place when Obasanjo was in power. What happened? When the document came out, I was still covering, science and tech at the time. Now, Nigeria failed to adopt that. This was over 10 years ago. But countries like Sierra Leone, countries like Senegal, Egypt, and 2 other countries adopted that. And they are implementing it till date. But we have not even started ours since Obasanjo left power. So that tells you that we're not lacking in the documents that could lead to something positive for the younger generation of Nigerians. You are mentioning people who can use computers and all that. In the course of this program, I'll let you know more of Nigerians who are in very sensitive positions across the globe. One of them is also part of those that control the airspace of Australia. Again, it's a younger generation of Nigeria, and many more like that. Now, Cynthia, what would be your advice for government, for instance? Say, look, give us a template. How do we start? Say in agriculture, how do we engage Nigerian youth in agriculture? Let's be specific this time around. How do sector by sector? How do we begin to engage the youth? What should be the master plan for that? If you're in a position to lead this country towards doing that.
I think I'll begin with our young grandpa, what he said earlier, around shared values, because if we do not have guiding values or shared values, we cannot form a national identity, and that is where we're lacking. We don't even know who we are as a people, and a lot of us are struggling to grasp onto that identity, that okay, this is who we are as Nigerians, but because there's no connecting values, we can't necessarily hold on to that. And I would always say it's a failure of leadership, because when you talk around how can we get these sectors to work, if we don't have drivers with who are driven by shared values and understand where we're going to, all these conversations we're having here will just be beautiful conversations that has been had for years and years on ending, right? And I would maybe start from the point of leadership recruitment, because we need drivers to move forward towards a vision. And if we do not have proper individuals occupying key positions that would be the drivers of this vision, we would still struggle with what we're struggling with. And I'm saying this because elections are close by, and the conversation around what do we do in this sector begins with who are those who occupy important positions. Why? Because beyond just the president and the governors, you have people who would be drivers at the legislative arm of government, who would make the laws and ensure that these laws are implemented and provide that oversight, because that is where the challenges are. And that is where you begin, because whoever occupies this position would be making the appointment of those who will be driving that. And where we've failed consistently, it's not that we don't have ideas, it's that people that have the right ideas have not been given the opportunities to occupy those positions in every sector. So talk about agriculture, for instance. Why has it been failing? Because we've not had people who understand how to implement these policies. We have policies that talks around how one, you want to industrialize, you want to ensure that you're opening up the space, decentralizing levels of production when it comes to the agriculture sector, and that we're moving more to growing resources that thrives better in Nigeria to a level that we can export. However, what we've had so far is when it comes to agriculture, all you see a lot of time is telling young people go into agriculture, but you're not asking young people, how do we provide you with requisite loan facilities to help you drive your innovation within that space. Now, we can't talk around production without talking about the power sector, because at the end of it all, think around how every other thing is driven by how effective and efficient our power sector is. This year alone, our national grid has failed us. I can't even count how many times. So you can think around all those young innovative ideas. So beyond the agriculture sector now, lots of young people have ideas on how to start up several. They have businesses, and I'm glad my brother mentioned how it's easier to start up businesses now. However, the cost of running businesses in Nigeria can cripple any idea. So you come up with your minimum capital to start up your business, but you have to spend a lot to just maintain the power, be it fueling your generator or your diesel, and the cost of that alone is so high. So even the young businesses that come up with those ideas on what they want to do, they are struggling to even make profits, because the system itself has not provided a sufficient power infrastructure that can help you run your businesses. So, and agriculture cannot be sustainable without power, because you can't talk about industrialization without power, right? So at the end, they are all connected. So for me, it's not necessarily about this is what we need to do. We know what we need to do. The problem is we've consistently given the wrong people power to lead us. And these wrong people have gotten into the system without no values. We don't know what our values are. We don't know what our identities are. So when they get into the system, rather than get the best person for the job, we deal with patronage system where we are rather giving people opportunities that they have no capacities to run. So the leadership question is still a major challenge. And honestly, as we move to the next election, I'm taking these elections very personal, because we need to consciously start electing people that understand that Nigeria is beyond an individual, is beyond an ethnic or regional or religious orientation. It is about the people, and it's about our future, and we are making a mockery of all the resources we're blessed with by putting in the wrong people there. So for me, when we talk around how do we get the sectors to work, it's not that we don't know what to do to get the sectors to work. We have all the policies. In fact, if we just implement the policies we have currently, we would be achieving development. It's about the recruitment process of leaders, and it begins with how we elect people, not just who the presidents would be or who the governors are, but who occupies the seats in the national and state assemblies, because those arms of government should be where debates are held to hold the executives to account, should be where laws are made and policies are reviewed to meet the current needs of our realities today. But if we do not have the right people in offices, we will keep appointing individuals who have no capacity, and they are confirmed at the Senate, confirmed at the national level, and they are holding offices. They have no capacity to do the job. So how can we get things done when the right people are not occupying the positions where they need to get the work done?
Okay, since you're bringing us back to not too young to run, looking at exactly who are supposed to be in the office, and the young ones are craving to saying the older ones refuse to give way, and of course the younger ones are trying to get in, the older ones are still locking the door.
What you told me a long time ago, that look, the people are looting at the moment, but those who are warming up to loot are more in number than those who are looting at the moment. So even if you give it to you, are you sure they're coming with the right sense of
whatever it is? Anyway, I'm looking at the situation you connected to agriculture, and given the background you gave about how we've been failing over the years, and even without anything anymore as per say policy or strategy, what we have on the ground is enough for us to move forward. Looking at our peers as a nation, those who came along with in the 60s, and those who even came after us, as Alistair rightly pointed out, have gone far ahead of us. Some come to this country to come and pick policies and decisions and ideas, leave, go and look them, and then they are far more ahead. Connected development. You mentioned much earlier on, if we can connect this to what Cynthia said and what Kieran earlier alluded to. In the olden days, in the early 60s, 70s, and even 80s, I know in schools we had the Young Farmers Club. Everybody has a plot. You should go and sell it, manage it, and then get something out of it. At one of my programs reflections, I think I interviewed Ahmed Jod of blessed memory. He said while they were in school, that was in agricultural college in Ibadan, he was able to at least, he and his friend were able to at least cultivate cassava that was bought by the principal and then fed the school at that time, and they were paid the money, and they used the money for whatever they wanted to. There we go, and along the line education came in. All these things have policies that were good enough, but there we are, we kept on moving and moving, and we become very consistent in inconsistency, if I may use that phrase. Do you agree with that?
Oh yeah, I absolutely agree with it, and for me, when I hear these stories, I'm saddened, because when I sit with my parents and my grandparents and they talk about the good old days of Nigeria, and then I wonder, when would our generation experience this good old days? Now we talk about the school feeding program. My parents were like, we enjoyed all of this, and they didn't call it any school feeding. There was the money that went into it was not as much as this, but they had balanced diet, they had nutritious meal, and it wasn't a big deal. And I asked, again, when would we experience this Nigeria? And I think this is one thing that my generation is struggling with. We only hear about the good old Nigeria, and then we're in this current Nigeria, and we're wondering, what happened, what went wrong, and how can we experience it? You talk about the not too young to run, and see, for us, it's about allowing young people to even have hope. Imagine, as a human being, you're not allowed to aspire. That's the worst thing that can ever happen to you.
Let's break this down very much and then explain it further to us. Allowing young ones to have hope. I mean, hope. What kind of hope? The hope is there in the sky. Nigeria is really great, and we are still growing. You have all you need. Government have policies and things like that. What kind of hope are you referring to? What kind of space are you referring to? What do they need, or what do you need?
Okay. So as a young person, you've been to primary, secondary school and university, and today you're a graduate, but there are no jobs. Okay, you want to get credit or loan or grant, there are no facilities to support you or help you to even start up something. Okay, you're a young person with skill. There are no opportunities for you to even contribute that your skill to national development and growth. Let's not mince words. Today we run a system that is big and heavy on who you know, not on even mentorship or intergenerational leadership transfer. It's based on, servicing or someone who you know. So it's either you're kissing someone's finger, or because of your status in society, that is what would open opportunities for you. And we still see as young people, and probably historians, maybe when we're older or when we're gone, would look at what we did that is unprecedented with the Not Too Young to Run movement. It took us 2.5 years, and a lot of people thought, oh, it just happened within a few. No, it took us over 10 years. But the campaign itself ran for 2.5 years. The first time the young people approached the National Assembly, they were laughed at and were asked to go and sit down and wait to their turn. But then we built alliance. And I think older generation and the politicians should learn from the Not Too Young to Run movement. It wasn't about class. It wasn't about religion or region. We built alliance based on shared value. And then we were less than 10 of us that did the Not Too Young to Run movement. And the first time in Nigeria's history, we gave a sitting president ultimatum. We shut down the National Assembly. And these are all democratic processes. We were never violent. We were never confrontational. We didn't insult our elders. We were engaging them. In short, the first town hall meeting we did, we all contributed money, 5,000, 2,000. There was no refreshment, no bottled water. The plan was to have about 100 people. We had over 500 people. People were outside. And for the first time, I saw young people, they just needed a space to talk. They just wanted a conversation. They just wanted to be identified. That is what young people are asking for. So that is the aspiration young people are asking for. Identify with us. Allow us, an enabling environment. Do not kill us. You know how many young people have been killed, by, trigger happy policemen. You see these people, and I'm glad it's our father that talked about it, not any one of us that is young. Before they say we're supporting internet fraud. I think as a people we need to reflect. I know that some of the best brains in FBI are some of the people who have committed fraud, and they were recruited by the system to say, okay, you've done this, we would let you go, but you would work for government and tell us how can we close this gap. That is how you change negativity to positivity for national growth and development. So for me, it starts with politics. And I'm taking it personal, like Cynthia. I'm getting older. We're getting older, and we want to become older and be fulfilled and happy that okay, we've learned from older generation. We've turned the tides and flipped the script, and it's now working for everybody, irrespective of where they are. Politics is important. Yes, we're civil society. We might never run for office, but the fate and the future of Nigeria is in our hands. And the process guarantees equity and fairness. What do I mean? The permanent voters card, no matter who you are, who you are in society, you're only entitled to one vote. But that's even some level of equity, and I'm excited with what INEC has done. Introducing BVAS, electronic transmission of result, and integrating technology. So what this means is 2023 is a defining moment. We cannot afford to get it wrong. It shouldn't be about religion, ethnicity. And I'm excited campaign has begun. It should be about issues that affect you and I. And for me, I want to see people in office that look like me. I think it's going to be easy. Imagine if you have younger people in office. We understand our language. And I'm not saying we should retire all the older politicians. That's why the message of Not Too Young to Run was simple. No, we just want an intergenerational dialogue. We want intergenerational equity. where older people and younger people will see themselves as partners towards progress, not as enemies against the state.
Really, I mean, you are speaking from your heart, because all you have, explained are stark realities, facing us as a nation, and I don't believe that the challenges are insurmountable. You just, like Cynthia said, to put the right people in the right positions, to be able to distribute the scarce resources adequately and accommodate all segments of society. All right, when a former commissioner was talking, he did make mention of textile industry producing a certain personality in our society, and that personality also got to a level in terms of you go to the highest echelon or higher echelon of governance in this country. Yet we expected that textile industry will be revived based on the fact that he understands what happened or how he benefited from that. Many Nigerians would have been benefiting from textile industries across Nigeria. What about cotton farming and what have you that will feed those the industry itself? It's all about not sustaining continuity in some projects. When the president of African Development Bank, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, was the agricultural minister. He introduced cassava bread. He introduced, having access to fertilizer without going through the the middlemen and what have you. That was the first time farmers began to access fertilizer without the middlemen, and all of that got to a stop. Many youths were engaged then, especially cassava bread processing, which of course taking some younger generation of Nigerians. That didn't happen. Okay, let's go to Timothy Avele, who also said that things are easier in terms of starting business and what have you. Let us know how that can be extended to other youths, to benefit from that. And what are you thinking in the direction of developing a new template that could accommodate the demography that we're discussing this morning in other sectors of our national life?
Like my colleagues have mentioned, it is very simple. It's very simple for federal and state to take on the challenge. Like I mentioned, what is needed, just a phone, a laptop, and perhaps cheaper data. That's what the youth needs. You just think the money resources that EFCC spend to investigate, arrest, persecute these fraudsters. Imagine if there's an agency that have half of that fund to identify youths with special talents and then incorporate them or expand their knowledge to others. Or imagine these bandits in the forest and they are trained on cyber opportunities, like in India. An Indian person can be working for a US firm and some other Asian countries. We call them cyber farms. And it doesn't take anything. You can train an illiterate, like a bandit. You can train him within 6 to 12 months and he can become a useful person. Not only to Nigeria, but to other parts of the world. In fact, such one can even be building foreign forests through tax and all that. So they need, like we said, enabling environment. The type of education we have is not encouraging. We focus on certificate education. So when you ask someone, you say, yes, I have a BSc, I have a PhD, and have that. But what can you do with that certificate? What can you contribute to the economy? I have a to interview someone that has a BSc in computer science. It's okay. I assembled this desktop. We don't know how to assemble a desktop. So I was wondering, what do you spend 4 years in university to learn? So we should de-emphasize certificate education. Rather, we should give quality education. For example, for youths now, we can't think of say, okay, go and farm like as we were doing within this time, go and farm. But imagine that you can incorporate artificial intelligence into farming. You can use drones to monitor the crops and so many other things. Make the farm to be interesting because now we are in a digital age. So make it interesting. And somebody mentioned about hope. Yes, the youth need hope. But imagine you want to train somebody for maybe 12, 13 years before he start working. There's no hope there. But if somebody is to learn 6 to 12 months and it can become something for himself and the community, the issue of banditry, crime, all this will be reduced. They have mentioned a lot of things that we have the policy, but the problem is implementation. And like I've mentioned, and some of my colleagues have mentioned it, it is true to fight crime. But when they use this knowledge they have, it pushes them. This knowledge they have, if there's no place to implement it, then of course the next thing is crime. The other day, the CFCC arrested 2 persons that have Yahoo School in Benin with their students with laptop and phone. Just imagine, why did they attend that school? They know that when maybe 2-3 months they can start making money. So we can capture those knowledge. The states, from states, you can create enabling environment. Maybe in cities, you can have what we call cyber farms. All you need is come with your phone, come with your laptop. There's a free internet there. There's a place you can charge your phone there and maybe small refreshments and start they collaborate and create things. If you know what Nigeria youth can do, because part of our work we monitor the cyberspace, and believe me,
So
when it comes to cyber, so this should be have many years to do this. Within some few months, train them and they can start producing not only the entire economy. So education, we talk about education. Then we also talk about support from the government. There should be support in policies, in the working environment. Then of course health. The youth health is also very important, especially their productive health. So if all these are put together, you see that one, crime will reduce. And even Nigeria can make more money from this youthful activity than what they are making from oil. I have some colleagues, some friends that work in some company in the US, they do their work at night with a laptop and they are paid about 250,000 every month. So imagine training these youths on this cyber, this bad idea of hacking people's email and all that. You can change it. You cannot become what we have cyber security instead of cyber hacking. But it's the same knowledge, because we need the same knowledge to protect. That's the same knowledge you use to harm. So it's like what my colleague has mentioned. Let us transform this knowledge now to something useful. The federal government can make it billions of dollars because we have, like what we mentioned, 70% of the populations, they are these youths that are ready to work. So the government, you don't need plenty of big buildings and no. Let the data rate be cheaper. Phones, maybe they are assembling it here in Nigeria. Laptops, they can be subsidized. These are what the youth need now. So if they are going to farm, also, what do? Let it be interesting. Like somebody rearing cow. There are technologies you can use to monitor your cow. If somebody comes and steal it, you don't worry yourself. That car can be tracked anywhere, even if it's across Nigeria. So why don't we train them? So look at, see what you can benefit. The bandit, look at what you can do within 6 months. And once they start seeing that, they can communicate with people outside the world, outside Nigeria. You see that they become useful to themselves and to the society. So let us not just wait that maybe until the new government start today. They don't need anything from us, but what they need is what they already have.
Thank you so much, Timothy Avele. Your point has been made, and of course we thank you so much for that very important point. The crux of the matter is that the fingers have been pointed at, the government circles, the older ones, and of course those people who have been ruling Nigeria since independence debate, and not giving people like Hamzat Lawal space to have some hope and aspirations. And even taking a little bit of leave from rather one leave up with the many he has from Timothy. It's open, he says, an open world. Nigeria cannot be excluded from the technological, race, which of course are fast moving in, and harnessing really that knowledge and expertise of Nigerians is very, very important, especially by states and governments and every other interested individual who rather move to, places with that. We will take a break. When we come back, we'll look at where exactly can we fit in this very idea of simplicity in business as being put forward by Avele here. Is it really necessary? Is it really achievable, given the fact that Nigerians have the resources, the capital, human resource capital, the land, the resources financially and everything we have. The only missing link is the determination, the spirit to move it by those who have the powers to do it. It's Good Morning Nigeria. We'll take a break now. Stay with us.
Finally, the hero of Nigeria's democracy has arrived. He shall usher us into a new phase of development, peace, and prosperity. He is the father of the new Nigeria. His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR. Welcome to another season of giving Nigerians hope yet again. We are sure of a great future for both ourselves and generations yet unborn. We look forward to your leading us as a nation into our manifest destiny. Though the challenges against us as a people are many, we know that your leadership shall set us on the right path to our greatness. A new dawn beckons on us all, and having you as our president is a precursor to this. Thank you for believing in Nigeria. This message is from the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
In coming to office in 2015, the Buhari administration has recorded unprecedented achievements in all sectors, especially in the provision of infrastructure, which is the key to economic growth. Never in this country has any administration done so much with so little. Recall that when this administration came into office, the price of crude oil, which provides for 80% of Nigeria's budgetary revenues and 95% of foreign exchange money, dropped drastically, thus reducing the amount of resources available to the federal government. In spite of this, the administration has continued apace with massive infrastructure development.
This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Every day in our country, senior citizens are discriminated against, disparaged, and treated with disdain by those who ought to respect them. We are all complicit in the way we have treated the elderly members of our society as institutions, families, or members of a shared society. Every time senior citizens get offered less than they deserve for the work they do because they are old, poor, and desperate, we are failing them. Senior citizen loses a child, and wow, they must be responsible for their death. Every time a senior citizen gets labeled a witch, is called mad, and shooed out of the way because they have no memory of where they were headed and look unkempt, we are failing them. We say, abeg, you don old, make it do die, make everybody for rest. To ailing parents, uncles and aunts. That's discrimination. That is neglect. When you see an old woman getting beat up and being accused of witchcraft, do not turn the other way. Stop and teach people that white hairs, wrinkles and hunchbacks are no evidence of witchcraft. Aging comes with a memory decline. Sometimes it's not out of place to have elderly people lose their way, forget details of their lives, and how to properly take care of themselves. When they get to this stage, they deserve your empathy, not scorn. Our ailing fathers, mothers, aunties, and uncles are deserving of quality healthcare and peaceful transition. Make their last moments memorable. Senior citizens have paid their dues. They deserve your care. Stop all forms of discrimination against them today.
The counsel of our fathers.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
Alright, welcome back. Still watching Good Morning Nigeria and the network service of the NTA. We are dissecting, how the demographic structure in Nigeria can impact generally on national development. And we're focusing on the younger generation of Nigerians who constitute a greater percentage of the entire population of over 200 million people. A lot has been said this morning, concerning the capacity of the youth, capability of the youth, and of course on the other side of it, of course, the criminal aspect of this younger generation of Nigerians who have, giving up, who say, look, things are not working. The system is not working. Cynthia mentioned earlier of some individuals who have traveled out of Nigeria because the system is not working. I have very close friends also who have done that. Even one of them whose son could not gain admission into the university because of the ASU strike. He now saying, look, I'll go and borrow and take my son to Canada to go to school. Yes, just yesterday. And I was wondering, how could he do that? A lot of money is involved. He said, no, but this guy has been at home for over 6 months now. So is he going to continue like that? His younger ones are going to beat him up, so he wants to advance the elder one and what have you. So this as a result of system collapse or failure or system dysfunctionality, if you like. Okay, now let's get back to former Commissioner of Information, Ahmad Sajo. You've had these younger people, and we have all traced our challenge to inability of those in power to turn the tide. What can we begin to do now, to correct them normally? I mean, as we don't have to run away from challenges. We have to devise means to ameliorate any deplorable condition. What should we start doing by now?
Let me start by very sincerely feeling sad for younger people. I have children and I converse with them. Even when Hamzat was shedding tears, talking about a very bright future for Nigerian young people. One thing basic is that what he said that is very germane to our discussion is that he has never lived in a good Nigeria. So he doesn't even have a template of what is a good Nigeria. When we were in school, to become a student union leader, you are assessed as to whether you are conservative or you are progressive, whether you are revolutionary or you. Today, to become a student union leader, you are assessed based on the cult you belong to and your connection with the outside society, where people bankroll your campaigns. And so we have polluted even the young people. That's one. Two. My little daughter here had been talking about politics and elections. We have a high level of poverty in the country, and we have a transactional politics in place. When you mix these two, your leadership recruitment would be hard to get the right people. I am a product of a leadership recruitment that defied the norm. When I was nominated as commissioner, the entire political system in my local government and my state, he is a witness, came and said, look, I cannot be because I'm too strict. The only thing that made me commissioner was that there is a section in the constitution, 194 subsection 5, that says if the governor takes your name to the House of Assembly and it stays there for 21 working days without a return, you're automatically cleared by the constitution. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been, because the House said I would not be because I was too strict. Honest, probably, whatever that straight meant. Now, my dear little daughter, you cannot, lawyers will tell you, you cannot build something on nothing. Here we are, in a country where our entire institutional framework are broken down, where you do not have institutions that your vision, whatever that vision is, forward. You have very powerful individuals with provincial mindsets that have made all institutions also provincial. That's why you need to know somebody to make inroads. Under that circumstance, you cannot have progress. That's why our infrastructure, fiscal, power, roads, whatever, collapse. Social infrastructure, our connected development. Our connected development had disconnected long ago because institutions that will weld these things into practical steps for national development have collapsed. So we now have powerful individuals pretending over very weak institutions, and their level of thinking is the level of thinking of those institutions. So if their capacity is, like my brother would say, selfish and self-centered, then the operations of the institutions of state are selfish and self-centered, and so they will not be available, to create a space for everybody, so that you do not drive hope from that kind of a position. That's where we are. So we need, you want her to go into agriculture. How would she start? Because our provincial kind of leadership had now, progressed, or what do I say? It has now degenerated to a level where we have become, where the only thing that pays is micronationalism. So even when you want her to go into agriculture, she goes back. The owners of the land that she will farm on will begin to claim that their ancestral land is better, it lies fallow, than somebody like Cynthia comes to farm on it. So where do you get the enabling environment? So please, we should not simplify these issues. If we do not get our institutional operations right, we will not get, like people always tell you, we have security challenges. I tell them, you're from my place, you know what I'm talking about. There are about 17 communities in my local government that have never even seen a policeman. You have less than 400,000 policemen in Nigeria. About 150,000 of them are doing what we call VIP duties, following people in the street. So the remaining few are the ones we have distributed to all over the country. So they are all, and most of them are based in the city, where they can mount roadblocks or whatever. So the greater part of this country is unpoliced. That's the kind of institutional breakdown that makes a lot of other things possible. So when non-state actors, break the monopoly of the state in ownership of instruments of coercion, and they begin to threaten the power of the state, you begin to argue, but the state did not prepare itself to control that monopoly. So I'm sorry, but we need some institutional, adjustment in our lives if we really want to survive, the impending boom he's talking about. We're at a tipping point. To be very honest, we're at a tipping point. With young people like this, highly intelligent, highly with a lot of skills and capacity, with capability, the last time they got it wrong. They got it wrong because when they organized an MSAS, because they didn't have the benefit of what we had when we were growing up, they brought in musicians and they brought food and they brought beer, and the thing was derailed. The next set may learn from that and actually realize that revolutions thrive on sacrifices, like they did with the not too young to run, that they can hold a town hall meeting without giving refreshment. By the time these young people realize that they have this power to actually endure, to persevere, to hold rallies without thinking of refreshment, to hold town hall meetings without thinking of refreshment, to start looking at us in the face beyond their capacity to sing and dance, to say, look, we can sing and dance, but we can also lead, we can also provide leadership. And once they reach that threshold,
Honorable Commissioner, Honorable Commissioner, we may not want to really get to that stage. That would not be really very palatable. But it seems like you're pointing towards a solution. Before we come back, because we're going to have the advantage of time to really come back for you and explain much further, break this down for us. institutional, failure. They brought about stronger individuals than the institutions. And until we are able to have stronger institutions than individuals, we may not be able to get it right. That will take some time. In the interim, what do we need to do to avail this young men?
Yusuf, it won't take any time. You know what we're saying? When you want to fly, you don't ask for the tribe and the religion of the pilot. You just want to fly safe and land safe. When you go to the hospital and they put you on the hospital bed, you don't want to ask about the tribe and the religion of the doctor. You want to get well. When you send your son to school, you do not ask of the tribe and the religion of the teacher. You just want your child to be taught well. When you take your child to learn a skill, an apparent skill, you're just looking for the man that can impart the best skill in that child. Why are we not using those same value orientations in determining who we give to go and lead us?
Who would use that value in the sense of knowing those who are in power may not really want to have those values? But we're talking about having to change their mindset. There are people older than people like you that will not want these changes to come around much easily. So we're talking about NSIS or something like that in the future, not too young to run. It took them 10 years before they convinced or rather started, campaigning. 2.5 years before we got them known. All right, it will take them another 10 years before they really make impact. By the time maybe 50% of those in power must have gone.
Revolutions don't take this long.
We don't want to make the revolution here in this place. I don't want to do a revolution anyway.
When you talk about revolution, it must not be a violent revolution. You can have a revolution of the mind. You can have a revolution when it comes to voting. You can do some certain revolutions without really being coercive or being destructive and what have you. But revolution is a positive step. There are many nations today that are great nations of this world. There were revolutions in those countries before they got to where they are today. They have history. We have history of all those nations. But okay. Now, you talked about the police being less than 400, and 150 of them are doing, special services, so to speak, and the rest of them cannot man Nigeria or police Nigeria properly. Now, you talked about institutional failure, which is very glaring, because just a few weeks ago we were talking about recruitment in the police, and the police services commission picked quarrel with the police authority. It's been happening. They've been in court some time ago. What is going on? Just to recruit police, and we need to recruit this younger generation of Nigerians. They need these jobs, and they're mostly graduates. Put them in the police, put them in the military, pay them well. And of course, they have begun to employ, and what have you, and other institutions and stuff like that. So, Cynthia, what should be done or can be done to begin to recruit youths in certain institutions or agencies that are not performing very well with respect to being underpopulated, with people who don't even have the capacity to deliver? What can be done to reverse that trend and begin to employ the younger ones in very sensitive ministries and agencies like the military, generally police, air force, and what have you?
I believe that first we need to focus on what we call the 3 C's. We use that also in assessing the kinds of people we need as leaders in the not too young to run movement: capacity, competence, and character. And I think that is where we're lacking, because we have opportunities that are not occupied by the people with the requisite capacities and competencies. So we talk about the Nigerian police force, but I don't want to get into that conversation, because when we talk about effective policing, we need to truly, as a people, think around how do we devolve or better decentralize policing itself to effectively provide efficient security in Nigeria. And what we have now, the current system cannot effectively provide efficient policing in Nigeria. Whether we're being honest, whether we want to be honest, it cannot. About 300,000 police officers in a nation of over 200 million people. Think about just deployment to 774 local governments alone. We don't have sufficient, and the fact that it is still centralized, to this where we are, the point that we are as a nation, is already failing as an architecture of security in itself. So one, for me, we need to do a better overhaul of the system of Nigerian police first. We need to think around how do we better develop and decentralize and then equip the system with capacity, competence, and character. That's one. The other part for me, I would look at is
quickly.
It's the next part, which I will just connect it next to the next elections. And you may ask me, why am I always talking about the elections? Because if we don't get the right people in, they cannot build institutions. Institutions are strong because people built these institutions. And people that build institutions understood why they needed to build the institutions. But you need to get the right people in first. And this is a call to Nigeria. I think the next part for me is the role Nigerians need to play. Franz Fanon said something. He said, peasants do not protest because it is a culture. They protest and revolt because they can no longer breathe. And I think as Nigerians, we've gotten to the point where we can no longer breathe. So as we get into the next elections, this hunger that we think is holding us back to collect monies to vote for people should not be our determining factor, because we need to, as a people, begin to elect the right people in that understand the importance of nationhood and nation building and have the right values to get into office. So honestly, at the point that our leaders cannot solve our problems anymore, we need to change who the people are in office are and elect the right people for the next elections.
We've run short of time, really. Hamzat Lawal, maybe in 60 seconds. Do you see the 2023 elections as a window, to make the change we require?
That's the only option we have. We must create a window, even if there is none. Before now, when I was much younger, even if I say I am old now, I always say power.
In 60 seconds, we have.
Yes, power is either gotten forcefully or democratically. But now I've learned that power is created. And I think in 2023 we have an opportunity as a people to create power. But when we create power, we must share it. We must share equity, fairness, and justice, and inclusivity.
Okay,
for me, this can be the window.
Okay, thank you indeed. Well, we're looking forward to a better Nigeria.
Sure.
That's just the bottom line. And of course, if you have a window, use that window before it closes. So on that note, we thank all of you for being here this morning and making this program worthwhile. First, I'd like to appreciate Cynthia Mbamalo, Director Program IAGA Africa. It's been wonderful talking to you this morning. Hamzat Lawal, Chief Executive, Connect Development. I want to belong to this just like the name. Exactly. Thank you indeed for coming here this morning, Hamzat. And Honorable Ahmad Tajo, former Commissioner for Information and Strategy, Adamawa State. You are part of us. Yeah.
I'm on this side.
A one-time journalist and of course Commissioner for Information at Adamawa State. It's been a pleasure, really, having you this morning. And from Warri, we had Timothy Avele, MD, CEO, Agent X Security Limited, and Deputy Director General, School X Cyber Tech and AI Academy. I hope you will extend what you have learned to others. Well, that will be very, very profitable. Thank you indeed for sharing your time and your thoughts with us this morning. All right, now, sports.
All is set for Nigeria's Super Falcons and Japan to clash in a senior women's international friendly match in Kobe on Thursday. The delegation of Super Falcons, which left Nigeria on Friday, has arrived in the Japanese town of Kobe, where they take on 2011 world champions Japan at the Noeviro Stadium, Kobe, on Thursday, 6th October. The date falls within one of the FIFA Women International windows for this year. Nadeshiko Japan, which is the alias of the women's national team of Japan, are rated 13th in the world. Both teams have clashed only once at competitive level at the 2004 Olympic Women's Football Tournament, in which the Super Falcons pipped the Nadeshiko 1-0. However, two back-to-back friendlies in 2013 were won 2-0 each by the Nadeshiko. And in the Champions League, action returns to the UEFA Champions League on Tuesday, as Napoli, who will be without the services of Victor Osimhen, will be looking to bag a win when they go away to Ajax. Jurgen Klopp and his squads will be looking to bounce back from their disappointment weekend draw when they trade tackles with their Scottish neighbours Rangers. Atletico Madrid will look to upset Club Brugge when they travel away to Belgium. Lewandowski, however, will hope to make amends for his failure at Bayern Munich when they go away to San Siro and face Inter Milan.
And that's Good Morning Nigeria for you today. We thank you so much for joining us. Join us again tomorrow as we prepare for our vision on this video platform. I'm Yusuf Olabus.
I am Killian, and I do have a great day.
Latest entrant, latest technology. Welcome to Intel 4G LTE Advanced and experience super fast internet access today. Visit intel.com.ng or any of our stores in Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt to get started. Intel. Learn more.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can watch NTA International live on your TV, computer, iPad, tablet and phone. Log on to visiontv.co.uk and click on Entertainment, then NTA. You can also download the iOS or Android app on your mobile devices to watch NTA International on the go, anywhere in the world. NTA International. Your window through the world.